Hello and welcome to the Pro Wrestling World Cup Bracket Cast. I am New Adam from What Culture, joined by Sam the Shredder Driver and James Dixon to go through all the ramifications of the Pro Wrestling World Cup 2017. We've got two amazing nights of wrestling to come, and then of course the draw for the finals was made just the other day by our general manager, Mr. I was going to call him his name then, Plumpy.
Yes, Plumpy, general manager Plumpy.
Yeah. And we're going to go through all the draws and possible ramifications of who could face who and the matches we're most looking forward to, I suppose.
Yeah, basically. I don't think there's anything else we really add to it.
Is it? No, I mean we both watched the bracket, live. We were here when he did it. It was great. Really exciting.
I really liked his outfit. I thought
he scrubs up all right, doesn't he? Yeah.
Doesn't bother for the shows though, does he?
No, rough as houses. But anyway, should we dive in?
Should we crack on then?
Yeah. Should we start with the American qualifiers? I suppose it's going to be this Friday.
Yeah, should we look at who may qualify?
Yeah, I think it's important to point out that on the bracket draw, there's 4 question marks. Yes. 2 from America, 2 from the rest of the world. Yeah. Because those brackets are taking place this weekend.
Qualifies first and second, that decides which side of the bracket they're on, right?
Yes. So it's just to clarify that then the first question mark is from America. We'll face Zack Sabre Jr. and it'll be one of 4. Mm-hmm. So get your prediction hats on. It'll either be Jay Lethal, Moose, David Starr, or Bobby Fish will meet Zach. On the other side of the bracket, we've got a question mark against Mike Bailey, and that's one of the rest of the world guys. And it's from the first side of the bracket, so it's Travis Banks, Mark Davis, Jern Simmons, or Tom LaRuffa. So again, we don't know yet, but fans at home and you guys, we can talk about who we think might go through and what we'd like to see, I guess. Mm-hmm. And then the other one, it's complete mystery.
Yes,
complete mystery. So it's probably not even worth speculating at that because there's 8 guys who could be part of it, and we haven't got a clue yet. So.
So starting off with the American qualifier, it's going to be on Friday night in Manchester, of course. Some great matchups there. Let's start off with one that I was so excited about when I first heard about it. A lot of high flying anticipated here. Ricochet against Matt Sydal. Some of you obviously may know him as Evan Bourne from WWE. How much are you guys looking forward to that, and what are your predictions?
Ricochet's always been amazing. Whenever he's been over and working for us, he's put on some just incredible matches, as he does everywhere.
Yeah, so, match with Drew a couple of months back was it's something else,
And Matt Sydal, it's just great to finally have him in the WCPW ring.
Yeah, right.
And it's a crapshoot. I don't know who's going to win that one at all.
I mean, the thing with Ricochet, it's a constant battle now. Is him, who's the greatest flyer in the world? Yes. And I think Matt Sydal might have something to say about that and be like, well, don't forget about me, just 'cause I'm not in WWE anymore.
Exactly.
And he'll have something to prove against Ricochet and vice versa. And we'll get to Will and Mysterio, which has been drawn for the finals, where it's a similar kind of situation in terms of a guy who was a great flyer from the past, still wants to show that he is. Guy who's like the modern predecessor, I guess. So I mean, it's a similar story here. Ricochet and Matt Sydal. I think it'll be amazing flying. I think that's what everyone's expecting. For all we know, they might go out and just do a little bit of technical wrestling.
25 minutes.
Do rounds or something. As far as the winner, how would you pick?
It's
flip a coin. Flip a coin.
People are potentially going to overlook Sydal because, as you said, he's not been on TV for a while. If you're sort of new to seeing him on the independent scene, you might have forgotten about him. It might be like, oh, okay. But he, as you said, is going to have something huge to prove against Ricochet.
I mean, I think he'll blow people away.
Yeah.
I think he'll blow people away. For those who haven't seen him, I think they'll be blown away by him. For those who have seen him, they'll be reminded just how great he is. And then, no one needs reminding just how incredible Ricochet is, I don't think. So.
And they're former tag partners as well, so they'll know each other inside out. Yeah. And I've been doing some research on Matt, obviously, because I'm doing some interviews backstage at this event. Mm-hmm. And Matt, you can't accuse him of being modest in some of his interviews. He still thinks he is, one of the best cruiserweights, one of the best high flyers,
he is.
All of those things. And he absolutely is.
Yeah, he is. And I think the fact that the winner will go on to face, the winner of the next match, which is Keith Lee or James Storm, which completely different kind of match to prepare for, So, I mean, if we maybe talk about that match as well now, Keith Lee, obviously a late addition. It was originally Cody Rhodes. he's no longer able to compete. So it's going to be Keith Lee and James Storm. Both guys who've never worked for WCPW before, so it's a fresh match for the audience. You know, it's a very unique kind of match. I don't think you'd see this anywhere else, really.
No.
In this kind of situation, anyway. And, you know, for the winner to face one of those two incredible flyers, it's a completely, you know, it's an unusual one. It's tough to pick.
My favourite thing in wrestling is depth of matches. So I really like seeing two different, completely like opposing styles go against one another. I like seeing high flyers go up against guys that can just pick them out the air and smash them into the ground. So I think I'm just really hoping that whoever does go through is going to be ready to, you know, really solidify.
I mean,
their place
Ricochet and Keith Lee know each other pretty well, right?
Yeah.
From worked each other in Evolve and had this blow-away match that, you know, people were raving about. You know, there's a possibility we could get that. You know, there's a couple of possibilities, obviously. But James Storm, I mean, I think people maybe underestimate him, and he brings a completely different style. There's a lot of high flyers have qualified for the finals. You know, if you look through the bracket, there's a couple of exceptions, but there's a lot of guys who can really fly and move and fast-paced guys, but James Storm would bring something completely different.
Not to overlook his experience either. Like,
right.
The guy's a veteran, so I think he might have the edge for me in this one. But
really? You think he'll make it right the way to the finals and go on to that match with...
I have a feeling that people are focusing heavily on the likes, as you say, of Ricochet, Matt Sydal, and all the high flyers in the World Cup. And I agree, someone like James Storm could come in, and for all the high flying you do in the world, if someone can just splat you there,
if he can grab you out the air,
which I can really see James Storm doing.
Yeah.
It could all be for naught. And I agree. I think it's another one of those people who are in the World Cup who people maybe have slept on a little bit in James Storm.
Right.
Although you could think James Storm thought, oh great, I don't have to face Cody Rhodes anymore, and then Keith Lee comes in as the replacement. It's no easy pack.
I mean,
easy
what
match.
a story it'd be though if Keith Lee, a late replacement, comes in, beats James Storm, and then beats Ricochet, Matt Sydal, goes to the finals. You know, and then the potential there for what he could do. I mean, we won't know who he'd be facing until after the rest of the world qualifier. It's someone from the second half of the bracket. But you'd got to, if he was to get that far and beat that caliber of opposition getting there, you've got to fancy him to go quite a long way, I guess.
Confidence that you get exactly from those first two rounds and those two victories.
As well, Storm's been preparing for Cody, so it's like now he's got Keith Lee, he's on the bit like
completely
back
different.
foot.
Completely different, yeah.
On the other side of the bracket, of course, Jay Lethal versus Moose, another match that I'm really looking forward to. A couple of guys who obviously have featured in WCPW and know each other again really well, but it's going to be an interesting one there because Jay Lethal, you know, one of the greatest first generation wrestlers,
the greatest,
against someone who's made that transition so seamlessly from American football into wrestling now. I mean, it's only been a few years that he's been doing it for, and already, you know, he's won titles. He's been linked, obviously, with a move to WWE. And he might see this as an opportunity really to stamp his mark.
Yeah, he can expand his personal brand to the moon if he wins the World Cup. So, and the thing is as well, after the last match at Built and Destroy against Joe Coffey, I want to see more of Athletic Moose. I want to see more flips and rolls.
That was the first
Lucha Moose, I believe we referred to him as.
That was the first time I saw Moose in person.
Yeah.
And I'd obviously, you know, had seen footage of him in the past and knew about his athletic ability, but his athleticism really came out in that match, and it's going to be interesting to see what sort of Moose turns up to face Jay Lethal.
Yeah, he's going to have to bring a bit of everything because Lethal
brings a bit of everything.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing is with Moose, you don't realise just how big he is till you sit next to the guy.
Terrifyingly
He's huge, but then the way he moves, you know, there's not a lot of guys that size who can move like he does. You know, I can't think of many around now.
It's American football. Like, being able to use his weight, his size, and his centre of gravity, it's doing him wonders.
I mean, the only person that's similar for me in terms of someone that's so jacked, so big, and can move like that is maybe like Lesnar. You know, someone like that who can fly around as well as, you know, bring brute strength. And I know Moose loves showing that he can do more than just be, you know, your generic big power guy.
Exactly, yeah.
And I think whether that's a benefit or a disadvantage against Lethal, I don't know, because Lethal's got so many different ways he can beat you and so much experience as well. I think it'd be a fascinating match. I mean, two regulars as well, like two WCPW guys nowadays. Really.
Who do you guys think is going to be the crowd is going to be rooting for? Because we know obviously Jay Lethal, as you say, and then the Moose chants just echo around for hours after Moose has wrestled.
Rest of the show.
So I I don't know. Like Moose is always going to have the fans on side. I mean,
But Jay's so good that
Jay,
even if fans don't like him, he wins them over.
I think it's just going to be
you know.
a constant battle of both these guys.
Yeah,
really
I think they'll
main
love them
champ that
both.
it is.
I think they'll love them both. And as far as who goes through, it depends. Like we've said, what Moose turns up, you know, and whether Lethal's got a way to counter, you know, the Moose that he
If
brings.
Moose can keep him on his toes, he's got a really good chance.
I think he needs to throw Jay off his game,
Yeah.
and maybe give the opposite of what Jay's expecting. You know, so maybe Jay's coming into this thing. Well, he's going to try and out roll and flip and fly me, and then he
just power Moose
doesn't.
turns
Do
up.
that. He just runs through him. You know, so it's tough. And it's hard to predict any of these matches. I think
My
and
theory,
the last one as well.
My theory here is potentially if Jay Lethal does go through, I think Moose may have taken so much out of him in a match against Moose to then the same night having to wrestle again against someone like, we'll get to these now, David Starr and Bobby Fish. I feel like, yes, obviously they're going to cause a great match between each other, but it's not going to be anywhere near 100% Jay Lethal if you manage to get past Moose.
Jay's coming up with, he's just coming off the rib injury that he was still suffering from at G1 USA, so if he goes through and Moose has already taken out of him and Fish starts laying in, if Fish goes through, Fish starts laying in those kicks.
Yeah, if Fish starts connecting with those, then
Even David
either
Starr,
of those
David
guys
Starr,
that struggle.
Very strong strike offense.
I mean, Bobby Fish is sort of a wild card in a different way to Keith Lee in the sense that, you know, he recently debuted on NXT.
Yeah.
So a lot of talk is, you know, the online fans like, well, he's obviously going to go out.
Yeah, I saw that as well, yeah.
Is he? Why? Why is he obviously going to go out? He's still here. He's still in this tournament.
Exactly.
If he's with WWE and NXT, why is he still here? I think people are writing him off far too quickly and they're forgetting just how good Bobby Fish is, you know? And that's not to take away anything from the other guys, but I wouldn't be surprised if he made it right the way to the finals, you know?
But I think people can't sleep on David Starr because I only recently started following David Starr and he's one of my standouts in recent years from the States.
Really
He's
impressive.
great.
Yeah. Every time he's worked for WCPW, he's been really impressive as well. You know, the first time he came in, he was did a show for us in Newcastle and worked with Marty Scurll.
Yeah.
And a lot of the audience didn't really know who he was. You know, they appreciated the fact that he was, you know, a representative from Rev Pro. That's what it was, a Rev Pro guest match. But they didn't give him this huge reaction. They weren't that familiar with him. But by the end of the match, standing ovation, and they were chanting, "Please come back."
Yeah,
you know,
he completely commanded the respect.
Completely. So if he can do that, you know, it shows how good he is, really, that he was able to get that kind of reaction, especially in someone like Marty, who everyone loves, you know, heel or not. So, yeah, I think you're right. And again, it's an intriguing one because these guys have met each other before in WCPW, in Orlando,
Yeah,
State of Emergency, with Michael Elgin in as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a different kind of match. Different kind of match.
It's so difficult to call any of these first,
Yeah.
the
They're
first
all
round, all
it's
second
horrific.
round matches.
I mean, what we're doing here is giving you the worst prediction show of all time.
We're just sitting right on
Two
the
of
fence,
these
aren't we?
Yeah, we
eight
are.
will be going through, and we've no idea.
We are sure of that. Two of these guys will go through, but it could be literally anybody, which I think is a credit to the way that
Yeah.
the bracket's been put together there, you know. So, should we move on?
Yes.
Yeah, let's move on and
We've
struggle to
wasted a
predict
lot
the
of
rest of the
time.
world as well.
We'll predict the rest of the world. I mean, this... I say it might be easy, but looking at it, it might not.
No, again,
I'll let you lead,
more high
Adam.
flyers, more more guys who can bring so much power to the ring as well. Let's start with Travis Banks versus Mark Davis.
Yeah.
One of the first matches I think we announced for this card.
Yeah, I think we did. I think two of the first names. I think
Yes.
the bracket was all
Yes.
together, wasn't it? But Travis Banks, obviously a regular at WCPW and across the UK, had an amazing year, a breakout year.
He's tearing the world up at the minute.
Yeah, I mean, for me, 2017 is the year in British wrestling of Travis Banks. 2016 was Will Ospreay's year. 2015, maybe Marty's. You know, they've all had a few. But Travis Banks, for all he's not British, of course, otherwise he wouldn't be in this this round. Yeah, he's a sensation. You know, he won the Progress tournament, the SS16, Triple S16.
Yes.
I do apologise. Which, you know, a 16-man tournament over, I think, 2 or 3 nights. So quite similar.
Yeah, it's good practice for this.
Yeah, so he's got a lot of experience there, and you know, he won the whole thing against really top-level opposition. So he's a Kiwi from New Zealand, and he's against Mark Davis, who's Australian, there's always a bit of a rivalry there, isn't there?
No need to hype this one in terms of their hatred towards each other's nations.
Yeah, and they're both. I refer to them as sort of new age workers. You know, the way they move. They're not flyers necessarily, but they're very hard hitting, very high impact, fast paced. You know,
Mark
a
Davis
lot of
is
movement.
Deceivingly aggressive for a man that comes out to "Don't Stop Believing." So.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And a big guy as well, and you don't think that when you see him on TV, maybe because he moves so fast, so well, kind of like Moose. It's not as big as Moose. Nobody is. But, but yeah, I think that's going to be a war, and I think that's like a sleeper for potential match of the night. There, people maybe not even realize that.
And of course, whoever goes through from this side of the bracket is going to face Mike Bailey in the finals, which is yet another. You know, you win the rest of the world, or you go through from the rest of the world qualifiers, and then it's like, congratulations, you get to face Mike Bailey now.
Yes, one of the great flyers on the planet. I think. I mean, I guess we'll get to that match in a second, because the other half of this bracket's Jern Simmons and Tom LaRuffa, two guys who haven't worked for WCPW before.
Nope.
And
Jern is just a beast, an absolute
Jern is a beast.
beast.
WXW champion,
unified
as well, unified champion. Tom LaRuffa was, if people don't know, was in WWE for a while there. Was it Sylvester Lefort?
I think it might have been, yeah.
I believe. You know, and so he's got some experience. He's been in tournaments before as well. You know, so And Jern Simmons has been in the Carat Gold tournament in WXW a couple of times, I guess. Yeah. So they've got experience in this kind of environment. So don't write them off either. You know, Simmons is, as you say, a beast, but Tom can dish it out as well, man.
Yeah, these are two I've not really seen a lot of before, and certainly never seen them in person. So seeing them that's a match I'm really looking forward to on Saturday night.
To be honest, I think whatever the final match of the qualifiers is, of those four, I think you're going to get a real hard-hitting, high-impact match out of it, you know, with any of those four guys. In terms of who I'd most like to see against Bailey, it depends what you're looking for. Yeah. I think Jern and Bailey could be something great.
Be incredible.
Yeah.
LaRuffa and Bailey could be incredible. Travis, I'd like to see against Bailey because their styles...
Yeah, that'd be
sort of mashed together so well. Travis is high flying but very strike based. Yeah. Mike Bailey's obviously martial arts and just fast.
Travis sort of New Zealand strong style.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So
Icarus is another name that when it was announced got me very excited for the rest of the world qualifiers.
Right,
and he's going to be on the opposite side of the bracket, of course. Thoughts on his chances?
We saw him in Germany a couple of weeks back.
GWF Summer.
Yeah.
Not Sizzler. I can't remember the name of the event.
Showdown.
Summer Showdown. I think.
And he was in the main event, and he was sensational. He was already part of this tournament at that point, but that was our first time seeing him.
Shaved his dreads off.
In person. He did shave his dreads off, which he had this amazing look.
Had a great look.
He looked like he was in Korn, but you know, he's bald. But he's a hell of an athlete, and he'll be a name that a lot of people probably aren't familiar with this over here and worldwide. And he's against Angelico, and I think that will be special, really special. I think you'll see a lot of great things that you wouldn't realize and wouldn't expect you'd see from this match, and I think people will leave that match going, wow, like bring those guys back, you know.
Well, everybody talks about Ospreay, Ricochet, but pretty much every cruiserweight and high flyer in the world now just wants to prove that they're better. So
it's a tough ask. It's a tough ask. It's a lot to live up to
do it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, and for a lot of these guys, it is a way of sort of showcase themselves globally, and not everybody. For some guys, it's a chance for us to utilize these guys who are global stars already. For others, it's a chance to showcase themselves, and I think that one will be. I think that'll rival Travis and Mark in terms of what might be the match of the night. But I say that, and then you look at RJ Singh and Flash Morgan Webster on the other side of that bracket, and that's again another match that's going to be off the charts.
Yeah, so Flash Morgan Webster's a real favourite.
The second half of that bracket is just speed, like all speed. It's just going to be brutal.
Good luck shooting that. Good luck shooting that. I mean, I would personally say I think Icarus could cause an upset. I really do. And I don't think after people have seen him, it'll be considered an upset anymore. Yeah. Just on paper, it's an upset. But once they see him, it'll be, wow, actually, holy
I think
hell,
anybody
you know.
watching now who hasn't seen Icarus should probably go and look him up.
Yeah.
Hungarian, isn't he? So
Yes,
just search Icarus wrestler Hungary, I guess.
Yes,
You'll find him.
yes, because there is another one in PWG, I think.
There's a lot of Icarus.
Yeah, I imagine it's a pretty
Icarai.
good name, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I fancy Icarus and maybe Flash in the second round there.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
And as far as the winner of that, I don't know, man. Like it could be either. It could obviously. I don't know. I think Icarus could, kind of like Lucky Kid did in Germany. I think he could be that underdog who progresses further than you might expect. You know, there's always an upset. There's always or a cup set, as we refer to it in football. I'm not sorry. And you know, I don't think we've really had that yet. Maybe Lucky Kid a little bit was
the only one you really could have, wouldn't have necessarily have marked for going through,
right?
Yeah.
Right.
In the early stages. But I agree with you. I think, especially once you get to the finals, it is people are going to go all out. Like you say, the newcomers who maybe aren't as recognisable as some of the other names in this tournament, they're going to want to be noticed and are going to push themselves a lot further than maybe other people will take them, like you say, take a little bit lightly. Think I'm going to save myself for the later rounds and
and
it
then
takes
come
is
undone. You know, I mean, I guess I can segue this quite nicely here, like, so bear with me.
Oh, nice.
But when we get to the finals, one of the first matches we're going to talk about is Kenny Williams and Kushida, and Kenny himself did that. You know, Joe Hendry took him lightly in the very first qualifier in Scotland. Kenny beat him. Joe Hendry's the WCPW champion now. You know, and Kenny, that was the first time I believe he'd wrestled for WCPW as well. So in his first match, he beats the guy who soon will become WCPW champion. Incredible thing. And then, you know, Kenny's well known everywhere in Britain, but in this ring, in this environment, not so much. And for him, you know, he's got that same kind of underdog thing going on.
Kenny is incredibly good at tiring out wrestlers and getting them frustrated. You always see him do the roll through the ring. He always tries to get guys really tired, really take advantage of the situation and capitalize on it. He is going to have a bit of a...
I was going to say, can he do that against Kushida? I mean,
unbeaten MMA
if he goes an hour, maybe,
yeah. The thing with Kenny as well is he's got to really stay on his toes around Kushida because, you know, he's
so dangerous from so many positions.
Yeah,
right?
and that's the thing is Kushida really likes to prey on people coming off the top rope. And
yeah, I mean, we saw that in his qualifying matches. I think it was in the match with Tanaka.
Yes.
There was a couple of times where it looked like Kushida was done. And Tanaka would do something, and then Kushida just bam like that, quick straight into the submission, you know, and then nailed him with the finish out of absolutely nowhere to go through, and it was just like, man, this guy can kill you in a heartbeat. You know,
Bushi threw absolutely everything at Kushida, and obviously Kushida's in the finals. So
exactly.
Yeah.
So, and I think what a matchup as well. You know, it's Back to the Future, isn't it? You know, it's Kushida and Kenny. I mean. Well done, Plumpy, for pulling those two out of the hat. That's a. If you could pick in advance, what's the perfect sort of fantasy match you do in this?
Yeah,
I think that'd be up there
with a Doc run-in.
I don't know if we can arrange that, though.
Taguchi dressed up as Doc, if we can get him over again.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. I'll let you explain that one to him.
Yeah.
But I mean, in terms of qualifiers, I mean, Kushida's just won the Best of Super Juniors. You know, he is the junior champ.
Machine. He's terrifying. Jushin Liger refers to him as the greatest junior heavyweight going.
Some praise from perhaps the greatest ever. You know, I mean, it's hard to argue with that kind of endorsement, isn't it? I think.
Yes, but if you're facing someone like that, you obviously are going to raise your game a little bit, and Kenny's known for really lifting himself against tough opponents and baiting them a little bit and coming through against all odds, as you mentioned with Joe Hendry earlier.
And Ricochet in ICW, he beat him as well. You know, so that's a huge. And Ricochet might be in this final bracket yet, for all we know. So yeah, I mean, he can raise his game. You're absolutely right, and I think I'd still go with Kushida. I think
it would be foolish to overlook Kenny, but I think Kenny can do a lot of damage to Kushida.
I think he'll hurt him going forward. Yeah, absolutely.
And the winner of that, of course, will face England's representative Zack Sabre Jr. and what is still to be decided American qualifier.
So it's from
it's the second half.
The second half of the bracket. Just
so So it's either Jay Lethal, Moose, David Starr, or Bobby Fish versus Zack Sabre Jr.
Any of those, you know, any of those. You take them all, wouldn't you? You know, I mean, it's a shame almost that you can't see all 4 of those matches.
Yeah, I really want to see Zack try and stretch a guy the size of Moose.
It'd be a totally different kind of match for Zack. Yeah, it'd be tough for him. I mean, one thing that is worth considering, the finals take place only a couple of weeks after G1, which Zack is obviously part of. How much is Zack going to have left in the tank? He's a cardio machine. He can wrestle 40 minutes. He can wrestle 50 minutes. But after he's wrestled 10 hard-hitting matches, punishing his body, you know, putting himself through hell, can he, you know, do it again over 2 nights? You know, can he do 4 matches in 2 nights and go all the way? If he's against Moose, I don't think he'll get past Moose.
And Moose is, I mean, you'd assume for a big guy, Moose wouldn't have a great deal of stamina, but I mean, watched him against Joe Coffey, of course. And
right.
He just kept going.
Keep going, yeah. And all 4 of those guys in that side of the bracket are the same, I think.
But he's from the NFL. Like their entire life is about being big and fast, like being nimble, being able to get around things. So I think if Zack goes up against Moose, Zack's going to have to really keep his distance.
I think it'd be hard. I don't think he'll be able to manipulate the bones in the way he does against other guys. You know, I think Moose is just too big and strong for that. If it's David Starr, they're a bit more evenly matched size-wise, so that might be a better opponent in theory for Zack, but at the same time, Starr can go all night as well. Bobby Fish, Zack doesn't want to be facing those kicks.
Yeah.
You know, especially after being punished and punished and punished by everybody, you know, by heavyweights he's facing in the G1, remember. And Lethal, again, he can come at, like we said earlier, come at you so many different directions that it's a horrible draw for Zack Sabre Jr. A horrible draw.
Not looking past Zack, but I would love to see someone like Jay Lethal against Kushida, just purely because of their styles, and of course, as you mentioned with Kushida, it applies also to Jay Lethal in terms of he's got a lot of skills in that ring, and you don't hold the titles that he's held for as long as he held them without being able to go through a lot of opponents, and I think that may stand Jay in good stead for this tournament.
I mean, I think that's true, but I think what we said earlier about how much of Jay will be left after Moose, I think Bobby Fish will progress, you know, and I think he'll then have a match with Zack and not 100% or even close to 100% Zack and go through again, and then against a Kushida who's not 100% because Kenny's just took him to the limit. So then you're looking at Bobby Fish in the semi-finals, 2 wins away from winning this trophy, going back to NXT with the World Cup, you know, and nightmare scenario, one we've been in before.
I mean,
it's usually the world champion, so you know it's different at least.
But I mean, the thing about Bobby Kushida, if that happened, it just all the kicks in the world. Bobby's mat game shouldn't be overlooked either. Like, the guy is very good. So I think Bobby going up against a weakened Kushida, you could be on the money there.
I mean, that's kind of, just from what we've talked about and analysing it a little bit, how the different strategies might come into play. That's kind of where I'm at the moment, is that we'll be looking at Bobby in the semis. But
I'd like to see Moose Kushida, though, as well.
I'm not saying it's what I'd like to see. I'm just necessarily, I'd like to see a lot of these scenarios. It's just, you know, what I think, based on the logic, might be what happens.
So you're going with head, I'm going with feels.
You're going with feels. You're going with head. It's usually the other way around, right?
Yeah.
Takahashi, Lucky Kid. We mentioned Lucky Kid. Obviously, you guys were there for that, and
biggest upset of the tournament. It was incredible.
Yeah,
so good. I don't think anybody in that room was expecting him to beat the Mac.
He's known more as a tag wrestler.
Yeah, he's one half of WXW's tag champs.
Young Lions.
With Tarkan
Aslan, who's a phenomenal talent as well. Was supposed to be in the tournament, obviously, but was injured, had a lung infection. So, which was a shame. But I'm sure you'll see them here in the future.
I'd imagine so. So impressed with Lucky. He's just incredible.
He was like this, I mean, you described him best.
He's just a ball of energy.
Ball of energy,
like, there's nothing that can sort of phase him, really. He's just positive.
He just comes out, as soon as he comes out, he's got this X factor, this magnetism. It maybe doesn't translate on telly as well.
Just everything about him just seems to scream like he's a really big deal.
Yeah.
You just need to.
He's just like best kept secret in European wrestling, I think. And you don't realise until you see him in person that just like, whoa, you know, he blows you away. And we've seen everything, you know, over these past year especially, but just generally
it was
from wrestling
just how he would strike from like just random spots.
Similar to
Like,
Kushida, maybe.
yeah, like he would just all of a sudden just bust out a handspring or a dive, or just, and it was like, what?
But just out of nowhere,
Yeah.
you know? So it wasn't just random. It was like there was a purpose to it, but it was just there's so many things in his arsenal.
He seemed to have planned it and obviously works on it, but it's not normally what you would see in that scenario.
Correct. Exactly right. And I think in terms of the draw, this is either the best draw possible or the worst draw possible for him.
Yeah, because
Could go either way, right?
The thing is, like, Lucky Kid was very, very well loved and respected by the GWF fans because he's a mainstay of GWF, and everybody was over the moon for him that night.
Yeah, so were we.
And we were,
You know,
of
so were
course,
we.
as well. And the only issue I'm going to foresee going into this is Hiromu Takahashi is a member of LIJ.
Yes.
LIJ are the
Evil,
hottest
yes.
stable coming up, and everybody loves Daryl. So I think the crowd's going to be on.
I think they'll be
the
split.
Time Lord side.
I think they'll be. I think when Lucky comes out, you know, it partly depends who comes out first. Almost.
Yeah.
You know, if Lucky comes out first and the crowd see that energy that he brings, I think they'll be with him, and I think they'll stay with him, and it'll be back and forth.
And hopefully they'll have had time to go back and watch. You know, you should go and watch the match that Lucky Kid won to get here, because
with Damak,
that'll only help with people. But yeah, Takahashi is well liked. I was there for the meet and greets and the amount of people who were queuing up to meet him, and obviously
With more the cap.
his sidekick.
The thing with Takahashi as well is he's another wrestler that's very smart at wasting time and annoying his opponents into making mistakes and then trapping them. And he's just brutal. Like, he spent all that time in Mexico. He's come back completely refreshed. Just amazing.
So do you think he's winning this one?
I really like Lucky Kid, but I think Takahashi's going to...
I think this is the upset of the round. I think this is the upset of the round. I think Lucky Kid will shock the world and beat Takahashi.
My concern is, if that does happen, is who his reward for getting past Takahashi.
It's not a reward.
Congratulations. Here's Joe Coffey or Michael Elgin. Good luck with that.
that match is just going to be war.
Yeah.
I mean, can you, if you are Lucky Kid, or Takahashi, you know, either of them, can you think of anything worse than having to face one of those two brutes in the next round?
I think if it was reversed, if it was Lucky Kid versus Coffey or Elgin in the first round of it, he might stand a good chance of staying out of the way of them. But going in tired if Lucky goes through, or Takahashi going in tired.
He's got a day to rest.
Yeah. But
So there is that to consider. It's not long, though.
it's not long, not when you're going to get in the ring.
But you say that, though,
Absolutely
but is it not the other
smashed.
way around? Because Mike Elgin and Joe Coffey are going to beat the tar out of each other.
Yeah, again.
So
Yeah.
are they not going to be... And when heavyweights are beating the tar out of each other, you know, you feel it a little bit more. So are they not going to be weaker going into the
Potentially.
quarterfinal?
Well, when this draw happened, and I saw obviously Coffey Elgin, I thought that maybe could have been a match for even the quarterfinals or even the semi-finals, because of, you know, you put them against certain opponents and you imagine they'll just run straight through them. But like you say, this is just, you know.
I mean, Joe Coffey's got so much experience as well, working with, you know, guys that on the outside would be considered big name guys. He beat Kurt Angle last year.
Yeah.
You know, pressure doesn't get to Joe Coffey, you know, at all. And I don't think working with Michael Elgin is going to be pressure for him. I think he's going to see it as an opportunity to showcase himself, showcase the prestige brand of which he's representing, and, you know, make a name for himself even more so, and get the fans' respect, which he doesn't have at the moment because of his association with the prestige.
Yes.
And if he can get through Elgin, you've got to fancy him against either Takahashi or Lucky Kid, I think.
I think the thing with Coffey is we've seen it before on Loaded, again through matches elsewhere. Joe Coffey can take a lot of beating.
Yeah,
He can
take
sustain a
punishment,
lot of punishment and finally come out on top. Like, the guy knows how to play the slow game and really pick his moments. So
The problem is his arrogance.
yeah,
You know, he needs to keep his head in the game, not
starts
worry
playing
about
up
the
to
crowd.
then he's done for.
Hot dogging results in defeat, you know, so often. And I think if Joe's got his A game and he's just focused purely on the match and the tournament, you can go a long way in this thing, I think.
It could be interesting if he faced someone like Lucky Kid in the next round, because obviously if you say, if he gets that win and gets the crowd on his side, and it's Joe Coffey who is a mixed relationship with WCPW fans, it's fair to say, over the last year.
Exactly.
That could almost help Lucky Kid because, as you say, Joe will get more obsessed with winding the crowd up than concentrating on someone who's come through 3 matches.
On why the crowd are behind Lucky and not him. He's been with the company.
Yeah,
since
that
day
bother
one.
him. That bother him. Yeah, this guy comes in. It's only his second match here in front of this audience. I
Joe
guess.
got to go out to Berlin. He's seen Lucky wrestle twice now.
Yeah, which might be to his advantage though.
Yeah.
That might be a benefit for him. Because by the time Lucky Kid wrestled in Berlin, Joe Coffey had already wrestled, so he had a chance to watch him.
Yeah.
Whereas Lucky Kid was on one of the last matches, so maybe probably didn't get a chance to see Joe. I mean, who do you guys think of these?
See, I'm a huge Michael Elgin fan, but
We've kind of almost dismissed Elgin here, and that's foolish because he's also in the G1 as well.
Yeah, and Elgin is he spent so much time in Japan having 7 shades of
matches.
Yeah,
yeah, right, right.
Yeah, just like basically, Elgin is an absolute powerhouse. When we did the Canadian shows, he was the crowd was so behind him. They're so proud of him.
Big Mike.
He absolutely ploughed through Davey Boy Jr. and
Rene Dupree.
Rene Dupree, yeah. And like it was nothing. Rene Dupree,
Rene Dupree had to resort to bringing a chair into the ring because he knew he couldn't beat him.
Yeah,
which was the only disqualification we've had in this entire tournament.
Yeah.
But yeah, because he knew he couldn't beat him, so Rene was just like.
But I think that frustrated Mike to no end, which is why the follow-up match was just brutal. And Mike, he can't be discounted. But
no, I mean, I don't think we are. I think we've sort of unintentionally done that. You'd fancy Mike to do well, depending on how the G1
experience. So.
But that could be a problem.
Yeah,
that could be a problem in the sense that if that he will go. He always does year after year. He's always one of the MVPs in the G1.
Yeah,
always has these incredible matches. I remember, I think it was last year, maybe 2 years ago, and Dave Meltzer was like, he's the most consistent guy in this entire thing. Every match he's had has been an average of 4 stars. An average of 4 stars.
Not bad.
I mean, and whether that means anything to you or not, irrelevant really, but it just shows like the level of consistency that he has. If he can bring that game, and if the G1 this year hasn't took it out of him too much, we might be talking about a potential winner there. Because there's no one in this side of the bracket that I think can beat Elgin when Elgin's on top form.
If I was booking it, I don't want to copy the history of many other Adams at this company.
Yes, you do. They all do.
The story that you could have with Coffey Moose in their semi-finals, because they had maybe not unfinished business, but they've got a history obviously with Built to Destroy.
Wouldn't that be something?
Them facing off 2 huge guys for a place in the World Cup final, there would be
match
nothing
number
left.
4, yeah. And then I guess if Coffey won it, and then there'd be 2-2, and then Coffey won the World Cup, and then Moose would have to face him again.
The other issue is
you're destined to do it forever.
Need to make sure the ring doesn't break.
Yes. Yeah, we'll talk to our pal Howie.
Yeah.
And our ring guy, and make sure that as Gorilla Monsoon used to say, that they've reinforced the ring for this one, because it might end up like Taz and Bigelow, and with a big hole in it.
Yeah.
If we're not very careful. So.
I mean, should we move on to the next one?
Yeah, to the other side of the bracket. So before we do that, out of those 7.5 guys, or rather, I guess, 11 guys, I guess we've got to play with. Who do you think's the finalist from that side? So you've got Lethal Moose, Starfish, Kushida Williams, Zach, Takahashi, Lucky Kid, Coffey Elgin. One finalist on the spot. Who would you go with? That's for both of you.
Yeah.
I'm not answering it, though.
I think the sneakiness of Takahashi can't be... he's very good at playing the long game. I think Takahashi is brutal when given the opportunity, and he's completely unhinged. So, for me, I think Takahashi's the finalist.
Really? I think he can beat Kushida, though? Junior check, because he'd have to. Well, he'd probably have to. I mean, that might be a semi...
Yeah.
A quarter-final, sorry.
Yeah.
Or semi-final, rather, sorry.
I'm a huge Jay Lethal fan, so...
Oh, you're going for the wild cards, because the Americans are, it's a crapshoot with those guys.
Yeah, I just discounted all of America there.
Yeah. Well, tell us first, though, why Lethal?
Well, as I said, I'm a huge fan of his, so there's a huge amount of bias coming from me here. So there's not a great deal of technical
You just want it to
breakdown
be
of
so
matches.
much.
Yeah, and I think if you can get through to the final, obviously we mentioned how tough the American qualifiers are in the first place, but if you can get through to the finals, the route to the final, there's no easy route.
No, of course not.
The people he could be facing, in theory, are, aside from the other side of the draw with Coffey and Elgin, what we've mentioned, the route is maybe slightly more preferable. Having come through the likes of Bobby Fish and
considering what he's done,
Moose,
sure, or potentially done,
I'd have to go for that. But I mean, who's to say Lucky Kid's not going to be the finalist? It's impossible.
It is impossible. I mean, I think it's brave to pick someone from the American bracket, because they've got two matches just to get to the last 16, you know. But so we're maybe going for the safe bet here if you're going with Takahashi. I mean, I don't know. Let's move on. I don't want to answer that. So I guess we'll skip the question mark match.
Because
I mean, we could speculate
we've already
a
been
little bit, I guess. But yeah, it's. I mean, if we're just going to pick one guy between us, because we probably need something to work with here.
You can start this time.
Oh God!
Go, one from each.
Right, so one guy from side America. I already said earlier, I think James Storm, because of the different sort of aspect that he brings. You know, Ricochet and Sydal are going to try and outdo each other. It's going to take a lot out of them. Keith Lee's fantastic, but and you know, because he does have that advantage of James Storm's probably not prepared for him, like we said.
Yeah.
But I think Storm's experience would win through there, and then he'd beat a weakened Ricochet or Matt Sydal. And in terms of who he would face, you know, your options are Angelico, Icarus, RJ Singh, Flash Morgan Webster. I think it'd be Icarus. I think he is the underdog guy. So, you know, we might be looking there at Icarus and James Storm in that match. And I think that's a really strange match. You know, it's like a match you'll never see anywhere else.
No.
Yeah.
Never see. But, of course, it could be anything. But that's kind of how I would peg it.
I
mean, you guys can.
With you on James Storm because the experience. I think the Ricochet and Sydal are going to go hell for leather.
Yeah,
and I think they're really going to risk tearing each other out.
Do it like that. Look, then it's easy.
There we go. Look at that. Oh, lovely. So I think James Storm. I just think Flash Morgan Webster's he's on a bit of a tear at the minute as well.
Right.
I think I'd really like
good podcast as well, by the way. If everybody out there should check that out. Big fans of that in this office. So you think? Sorry, I was just talking about you there. Do you think
Storm, Flash Morgan? I think
James and Flash, Adam 5. What do you think?
As much as I would love to see, you know, a semi-final with Ospreay versus Ricochet, following the likes of Ospreay Mysterio, I've got to agree with you. I've gone for maybe people who haven't got as much power as the other people in their bracket on the one side, so I'm going to have to agree with James Storm. And as we mentioned earlier with James, I think a lot of people seem to underestimate him. You know,
look what his tag partner does now.
Exactly, and his track record, and you know, the reason he went back to Impact following you know, a stint in NXT was down to him. There was no question of his talent there.
That's why I think a lot of people write him off. I think a lot of people are very
they think he couldn't make it, but that's not how
TNA
it was at all.
About the level of quality of talent in TNA.
Yeah.
I think that they're always going to try and associate TNA as a lesser brand, therefore the talent's lesser.
What's TNA?
Well, sorry,
Jeff Jarrett's GFW is what it is, everybody.
GFW Impact.
Jeff Jarrett's GFW.
What's that? It's that this week. Isn't
Yeah, we'll see next week.
So I'd have to go for James Storm, and I'm going to allow myself another guilty pleasure pick, Flash Morgan Webster.
That's what a strange match again, though, eh?
Yeah.
Like James Storm and any of those guys is something you'd never see anywhere.
No.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think probably, you know, there's a couple of lineups there that just, you won't see them. And that's what makes this tournament so unique, really.
Yeah.
I guess it goes back to what you were saying about that's what you like, that kind of uniqueness and the depth of matches.
Depth, right.
So the question then is, would James Storm progress any further than that, or will Flash or Icarus, you know...
James Storm against someone like Bad Bones would be...
Well, let's move on to that match then, I
Yes.
guess. So it's Bad Bones and Penta.
This is perhaps my favourite drawing of the...
Really?
Yeah.
Tell us why.
I really like Bones, and it's not just because he knows where cameras are. Bones comes out, understands.
The producer in you.
No, I think Bones is just really entertaining to watch. I think he's a very well-rounded wrestler, and I think
unheralded for that sometimes.
Yeah, and I think it rings true what a lot of people were chanting in Berlin, that he is best in Europe, or at least one of the best in Europe.
And he's got tournament experience as well in the 16 carat.
But I think him versus Penta is just something that it's just two grown men murdering each other.
Right. I mean, I think Adam, it comes down to something we were talking about before we went on the air with this. A lot of the talks have been about, you know, Kushida and Kenny Williams, Rey Mysterio, Will Ospreay, which we'll get to as well. And some of the other matches maybe been overlooked a bit. And I think one of those is Bad Bones and Penta. It's like those guys will kill each other. You know, they'll kill each other.
Yeah.
I mean, way
Penta is not afraid to package pile driver people onto the
he's
apron.
Not. But Bad Bones isn't afraid of spearing someone through
anything.
Through a wall, you know. Bring his little bat with him.
Yeah.
You know, won't be afraid to use it. He will have to stick to the rules, I guess.
Yeah.
Which makes it a little bit trickier for him because he's used to just going wild.
But as long as he can get you know, enough clearance from Penta and Penta's strikes, he can start just throwing him around.
I think it'll be.
I think Penta's a sort of double. Yeah. Like he's a double whammy though, because he's very hard hitter, but he's very
can
fast.
Move, yeah, right, and he can fly around with the best of them.
Bones might not have the speed advantage, but certainly probably got the power
I think definitely not. Yeah. But power wise, yeah. I mean, Penta is strong. Yeah. Deceptively strong, I think. But I think Bones is a bit stronger, that bit more, maybe even that bit more vicious.
One thing I just thought completely out of the blue, which I hadn't even considered throughout this whole tournament, considering we've mentioned obviously Penta and Bad Bones and Coffey and Elgin, is almost like a bye. It's like double count out. It's a bye. They go straight through to the next round.
Yeah, true.
That could happen in either Coffey, Elgin, or Bad Bones and Penta.
Well, it could happen in any of them, I guess.
But those two, especially, like we say, is just going to be an absolute war, and it's almost just who can survive
it.
Collapse onto the other person for the.
I mean, I don't think there's as far as I know, the rules are that there's no time limits in any of the matches. You know, because we want winners.
It's definitive winner, yeah. So.
And I know the referees have been told to be a little bit more lenient. You know, don't disqualify and count out for just straight away. Yeah,
we're going to
try and get a winner.
Japanese approach.
Yeah, quite right as well. Because it's a cheap, crappy way to win. You know, WWE, it's crap. Stop doing it. You know, it's on pay-per-view. Yes, I know we did it on the first show we ever did in the first match. Just move on, people. We do loads of those. I mean, we don't do those. They just happen accidentally, Sam. You know, who's Daniel? Anyway, Bad Bones and Penta. Yeah, Bad Bones came through some tough matches in Germany. Pascal Spalder and our favourite wrestler in the office, Cash Money Erkan. All big fans of Cash Money. But Penta destroyed Rey Fenix.
His own brother.
Murdered him. Horrific. And then that little friend of everybody's, El Ligero, you know, who is obviously very Mexican, and he beat him as well. So, you know, and they've worked with each other a couple of times, and, you know, the results have been sort of one each. But the matches have been superb. And, and so Penta... his displays, man.
A destroyer on Bones. I couldn't imagine seeing somebody the size of Bones flying like that.
I can imagine Bones standing up angry about it afterwards, and then just spearing him through the floor or the wall or something. So, I mean, who are we going with in this one then? Almost doesn't matter, does it? Because whoever they face in the next round is going to destroy them because they'll be, you know, barely able to move.
Made it there.
Yeah.
I'd got to go Bad Bones for me.
Yeah.
In that one.
Same here. I'm Bones. Okay, so we think. So based on that, we're thinking Bones and Storm in the next round?
Which would be great.
Bones crawls through into the next round.
Storm beats him in 2 minutes.
To face James Storm,
Has Bones faced Storm with any of the Impact tapings he's done?
I don't know. I doubt it. I doubt it. I'm sure someone will correct us in the comments that we all read.
Please let us, please tell us.
So the other side of this bracket then.
Yeah.
Or the other half of this half. And the match that everybody's losing their minds over. And quite right.
Yeah.
Quite right. Will Ospreay and Rey Mysterio. The greatest flyer ever. Apart from maybe Liger. One of the two, isn't it? Against the greatest flyer now, apart from maybe Ricochet. One of the two. You know, but two of the all-time great juniors, you know. What Will's achieved has been unbelievable. And he's only so young. He's 24, you know. It's like one of the greatest wrestlers on the entire planet. You know, we ranked him very highly in the latest... and this isn't just a shameless plug, but in the latest What Culture Wrestling magazine.
Where can you buy that magazine, Dan?
No idea.
Shoplocal.com.
I did know, but I didn't want to be the one to do it. I'm not a shill, apart from this entire podcast. But yeah, Will's, I think he's phenomenal. I think we all agree there. You know, I wrote the piece on him. Like the first thing that I said was, it only takes watching him once in person to be blown away by him. Like absolutely blown away by him. And Ray used to be like that 20 years ago when he first burst on the scene.
Yeah.
And Ray can still go, you know, and he'll want to prove he can still go against Will. So you tell me what you guys think. I mean, it's a hell of a match, right?
Well, this was the one, obviously, as you said, that if you'd asked people what they would have liked to see with the draw beforehand, is a match that a lot of people would have called, and certainly when it happened, you look at the comments and you look at the reaction on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and everything. It's the one that I think is aside from, you know, everyone was excited about Kushida Kenny Williams, but this is the number one match. This is the match that everyone wants to see in the early stage of the finals. And, you know, Will has been phenomenal with him and Scotty, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And
the you know, tag team champions here. Done really well. They've had those belts for a while. And it's a whole new game for Will, a whole new side of his game, I guess.
And I think that, if anything, it's developed him even more because he's worked on, you know, having a partner as well as his singles game, and obviously being able to stand on the side of the ring whilst matches are going on against some, you know, amazing people that they faced. He's no doubt picked up even more stuff.
Yeah, almost learning on the job, right?
Exactly, from such an early age.
Yeah, good point.
Rey Mysterio is someone I've been a fan of since I basically got into wrestling.
Right? Yeah, I think
so it is really hard for me to go against him, but I think not only will this be a match that everyone talks about for a long time to come, I think it could be a sign of hopefully things to come for Will going forward, and I can see him just at his age. It's a really simple and obvious thing to say, but just his age and his youthful exuberance and experience may carry him through it in this match.
I mean, for me, I think this is, if Will goes through it, it's the ultimate passing of the torch.
Exactly.
Really,
yeah.
Ray,
or maybe the taking of the torch.
Taking of the torch, rather, yeah. I mean, I remember watching Ray when I was a kid and just amazed. Like back WCW, him, Psychosis, all those guys, where it was just like, I just couldn't comprehend it. And then Ospreay comes along and just does that all over again for me. And it's like, more, right? I'm sort of with you that I'd never really want to bet against Ray because Ray's like, he'll always be a favourite. But if I'm thinking in terms of, you know, who's had a longer career, who's kind of potentially maybe be more dinged up going into a match, who's going to be a lot more, you know, a lot less likely maybe to take higher risks in order like to win a championship. I'm pretty sure Will is that little bit more hungry. He's got time on his side.
He does. His experience in the best of the Super Juniors.
Yeah, true. 2 years running, you know, winner 1 year, finalist the next. But at the same time, all that stuff and that style takes it out of you.
Yeah.
And I think Will's so, you know, so gung-ho, so 110% every single time he's out there, no matter whether he's in front of 200 people or 2,000, 20,000.
He's like that as a person, though, as well as like
100-mile-an-hour guy, right?
Yeah.
He reminds me a lot of guys like Dynamite Kid. Never seen him have a bad match, you know, never ever. He's always amazing, like Eddie Guerrero. You never see him have a bad match. But Ray's so experienced, and you wonder if Will's exuberance, you know, his youthful exuberance, as you put it, if that could work against him here, and if Ray can use that experience and his knowledge of flying. He knows flying so well. He's worked with every flying guy in the world. He knows what's coming from Will. You know, he might be able to scout that better.
How long's Ray been going now? What, 30 years?
You'll hate you for that, but you know, it's getting on for that. You know, it's a long time. He's been wrestling since he was a kid.
Yeah, but he's wrestled thousands upon thousands of people. Like Ospreay is going to be nothing new to him. He will have seen Ospreay.
Of course, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm sure they're very familiar with each other.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I think they're both really looking forward to working with each other and proving who's the best man here.
But I think Ray's going to have a lot more in the tank than people might think.
And I think another it's cliche to say something like this, but he's been, you know, Ray, you look at his time, especially in the WWE, he's been a sort of perpetual underdog, and he knows how to survive in those situations. And the one thing I would say, having seen a lot of Ospreay matches, especially when he was doing more singles stuff, is he can easily get frustrated when he hits the move that he thinks, right, that's it, it's all over. I've seen him in matches against like Kirby and stuff like that, where he hits something and he thinks that's it, and they kick out, and then that almost it just completely throws his equilibrium.
And it cost him against Kirby.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there is a potential for that, but I'm going to stick with Ospreay.
I think it'll be Rey. I think this tournament is going to be Rey's chance to show that he can still be the guy.
I mean, Rey is. There's rumours of WWE wanting to talk to him.
Of course there is. Well, if he wins this tournament, he's got a great chance.
Because his Lucha Underground contract's up, isn't it? Very shortly. I think Rey wants to get back into the public eye. Rey wants to be really, seen by a lot of people. So I think Rey might just take it.
One thing to consider, if Will does go through, a potential semi-final, depending on how the US bracket, which as we know is impossible to predict, but depending on how that goes, we could be looking at Will Ricochet down the line. That's a potential match on this side.
Yeah.
Which we could be looking at Will Matt Sydal. Again, another fantasy match almost. And what Bad Bones would do to Will, I wouldn't even like to consider. I mean, can you imagine? You almost think that if Will or Rey have to face Bad Bones, I think they maybe just go home. Yeah. Call it a day.
Yeah. But Bones has got Penta as well.
That's true. So he'll be weakened. Yeah. So one more then.
Mike Bailey against Travis Banks, Mark Davis, Jörn Simmons, and Tom LaRufa.
We were obviously in Toronto for the Canadian qualifier, and we were absolutely kind of like with Lucky Kid, but in a different kind of way, because obviously we knew a lot about Mike beforehand. We were absolutely blown away by him. It was
one thing like watching back matches and reading up a lot about him and hearing about him and seeing him like being like just feet from him while he's just busting out all this crazy stuff.
That pace.
Yeah, he's just
unbelievable.
Non-stop. Like he can't get any faster, and he just gets faster.
Yeah, I mean his nickname's Speedball, right? And for a reason, for a reason.
But the precision of his offense, because of his martial arts background, it's really bad, like really deadly.
Really bad,
really bad,
like
really brutal. Yeah,
whoever he goes.
Yeah, right. And I think the word you use there, precision, is key here, because Bailey will look at his opponent, assess the strengths, use them against them, assess the weaknesses, try and exploit them. Bailey is a smart wrestler.
He's got very good discipline.
Absolutely. I think in something like this, when you've got so many different kinds of opponents, a range of opponents, I think that's a vital, asset to have. Whereas someone like Bad Bones or Will Ospreay will just go 100% dive in and just gung-ho, hell for leather. Whereas Bailey will be, for all he's super fast, his brain, is a little bit more pragmatic.
That and Mike will know all of these guys.
Yeah, he's wrestled everybody.
Wrestled every single one of them. So Mike already has that. Well, the opponent does as well, but Mike already sort of has been up against them and assessed them, and he can just bust that knowledge back out.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think any of those matches, I mean, potential, matches for him, Travis Banks, Davis, Simmons, all the roughers we've talked about, all of them could be good.
Yeah.
All of them would be good.
Trav, I think, would be very, very hard to watch in terms of two grown men kicking each other in the face. But
it's what we like the most,
yeah,
isn't
exactly.
it?
I think Bailey Jörn would be just
for me. It is probably one of those two. Like, I mean, that's in my opinion, it probably is one of those two matches. Don't know if you guys agree with that, but
Banks was going to be my call for going through against someone like Bailey.
I mean, Banks Bailey.
Yeah,
I mean that'd be something, right? And and for the winner of that to face Rey or Will, I mean, it's just. You want all of that to happen. You maybe want to run this tournament this first night 3 or 4 times so you can see all these different scenarios, and hope you get different outcomes. But I mean, can you imagine? We were saying like Will and Ricochet or Will and Matt Sydal, but what about Will and Mike Bailey? They've wrestled each other before a couple of times over here and elsewhere, but I think they worked each other in PWG, right?
Yeah.
In the Battle of Los Angeles, so they've wrestled each other in tournament format before. They could meet again. Rey and Bailey I don't think Rey'd know what hit him. He seemed fast, but like Mike is fast.
It's his control of the ring as well. Like Mike just going straight off the turnbuckle to the outside. He knows exactly where he is, where his opponent's going to be. Yeah. He knows so much about the opponent that I think the opponents don't really know about themselves, that he can use that to his advantage. So I think Mike's a great shout.
I mean, we were so impressed with his 2 matches in Canada. In the first round he faced and defeated Brent Banks, who probably a name that a lot of people watching this aren't aware of.
Brent
Check
Banks
him
is
out.
Incredible.
Unbelievable work.
9-year veteran, and he's not really that known, which is a crime.
No, it is a crime, and I think you said it was probably your favourite match of the entire tournament, right?
Yeah, both of Bailey's matches were my favourite. But
the other one being Kyle O'Reilly.
Yeah, the other one being Kyle. But I think Bailey Banks, it's because I'd never heard of who Banks was.
Right.
So I'd never heard of him, never seen anything of him. And then when he went out there and just blew me away, I was like... Okay.
And that's kind of the point of this whole tournament almost.
Yeah.
64 guys, there's no way even the most ardent wrestling fans going to know every single one of them inside out. And, that's one of the things we wanted to do as a company generally was bring wrestling together a little bit and, have the best from Canada, the best from Germany, the best from England, Scotland, etc. all come together for this one big global showcase of this is what wrestling can be.
Yeah.
When everyone sort of works together and shows, all these different styles and this is what it's like in Germany, this is what it's like in Canada, this is what it's like here. And I think it's done a really good job of doing that. I think there's been some really great matches in this tournament. And I think looking at this, could be one of the best shows of all time, And I don't think that's arrogant to say either. I think looking at it on paper, I think it genuinely could be.
Yeah, if you just look at the list of names already confirmed, let alone the other people who could qualify.
Yeah, right.
It's amazing, and I consider myself a wrestling fan, and I knew a fair few of these names, but I didn't feel that when the people that were introduced that I hadn't heard of or matches I hadn't seen before, I didn't feel, or not guilty for not knowing about them, because like you say, it's an education right in front of your very eyes to see people come in and do the stuff that they can do. And like you say, not only is it being introduced to new people, but the variations in styles between each country that we've featured, and we still will feature. And it's going to be great to see exactly the styles and the countries go up against each other.
Yeah, I think that's one of the keys. Like, a lot of people thought, when the format of the tournament was maybe a little bit confused with people at first. They thought, so Zack Sabre Jr. and Will Ospreay qualify from England. Oh, well, they're facing each other next. It's like, no. That defeats the point. You want to mix it up. And that's why the rest of the world bracket's so interesting. You've got 8 countries, all in one, 8 different kind of styles, guys trained in different ways and whatever, different experience, different places. So that's what makes it so fascinating, I think.
So on that right-hand side of the draw, we've picked from the left who we think is going to potentially go all the way to the final. Who's your money on from the right-hand side?
You're going to make me answer it this time, aren't you?
Yes.
I think it's hard because we do have 3 question marks here. So we're working with basically 21 guys or something. Well, not quite, but 13 guys, aren't we?
Oh, no, well. You've got all of that to choose from.
Yes, there's 8, another 4. From the 5 guys who are in it, for sure, I'm not going to hedge my bets. I like Bailey's chances because of how cerebral he is. If Bones or Pender are able to come through their match without killing each other, then if Bad Bones beat Pender in 3 minutes, Goldberged him, then he's probably got a really good chance.
Yeah.
I like the look of Bailey. Ospreay's obviously got tournament experience. Wouldn't look past him, but I don't think we'll get past Ray. So I'll go with Bailey.
I think if Penta goes over and gets past Bad Bones, Penta Bailey would be an amazing semi. I don't know. I really want to say Bailey. My heart's telling me to say Bailey because he's just incredible. And in terms of his actual ability and his discipline and his background, I think he's just the most well-rounded fighter on that side of the tournament. He could legitimately kick your ass.
Yeah, indeed he could.
I don't doubt anybody else could, but Bailey could probably do it with precision.
I've changed my mind 3 times whilst you two have been talking. There's a part of me genuinely that wanted to say James Storm.
Yeah.
But considering the last time I said someone who, again, hasn't qualified for the finals yet in Lethal, I'm going to avoid that. My only
Yes.
my reasoning behind it was, of course, that if he can get through, if he gets to the finals and then gets through his match, he will be facing, in theory, a very tired and beat up Bones or Penta. But I'm not going to do that. Then I was going to agree with you and say Bailey, and then I thought, well, I'll make it interesting and say someone else. There was a bit of me that said, why not say Mysterio? And then I remembered that I picked Ospreay. So through that interesting logic, I'm going to go for Will Ospreay. And
Jay Lethal in the final?
Will Ospreay, I didn't realise I'd booked that. Yeah, Will Ospreay in the final. You mentioned his obvious experience in tournaments before. I think that will help him, and I think the boost he would get if he could go over someone like Mysterio, then he's got to get past Bailey, in theory, or whoever.
Or someone else,
or Banks. Or
Davis or Simmons all over. Yeah, it's hard,
I'll just say a name and hope for the best. I'll go for Ospreay. Ospreay Lethal final would be. I'd love to see something like that. But then Bones could do it. I'm just going to say Ospreay and shut up now.
I mean, you see, we could do this all day.
Yeah, I'll change my mind
every
right up until about August 26th. So
yeah, I think it'll help in a week's time when we know everybody is through. You can start mapping it a little bit more. Maybe we'll do this again.
Yeah, look at actual strength.
You know, we'll be like, oh well, we all picked this guy and he got beat in 2 minutes in the first round. It's like, right, let's move on. Shows what we know. Yeah. Who's winning it? Who is going to be the first ever winner of the Pro Wrestling World Cup?
Don't make me choose, Dan.
There's a bit of me that
James.
There you go.
There's a bit of me that obviously thinks it would be great for it's biased, but it'd be great for the Pro Wrestling World Cup to be won by an Englishman.
Yeah.
In Will Ospreay. And
so you have to go for Will.
I booked him into the final, so I sort of have to go for that. But then again, Jay Lethal has got such.
He'll go out to the German in the semi-finals.
Yes, yeah.
Bad Bones
on penalties.
Yeah.
In overtime.
But yeah, I'm just gonna shut up and say Ospreay now, because if I said Lethal and he doesn't even make the finals, then I'll look even more stupid than I already do. So I'll just say Ospreay.
Or even more intelligent though. Like that's the thing. So.
I'll just say I could say Lethal and say if he doesn't make the final.
Okay. Sam.
I think the final's going to be Bailey Takahashi.
What a match that'd be. What a match that would be.
Exactly.
And who's going to win it? You love Takahashi. You love New Japan.
I do, but so I'd love to see Bailey win it. I just think
Canada, eh?
He really
to win the thing. I guess I better answer
he had
it.
an incredible show in it, 16 carat.
No, he did. I like your theory about Will, but now I've said it, the more I think that Bad Bones, if they were to meet, would beat him because Germany always beat England in the World Cup. So that's, sorry American fans, but just do some research.
Yeah. You win it once and only once.
Talking about soccer. So, see, I think you may be underestimating another Canadian by going with Bailey.
Yeah.
Elgin, I think the fact that everybody in that side is going to weaken each other means that it's not going to come from that side.
Yeah.
On the left-hand side. So it's not going to be Kushida, Kenny Williams, Zack, Takahashi, Kid, Coffey or Elgin. I think they're all going to beat each other up so bad.
But then you have to discount Bones and Penta.
Discount Bones and Penta. I think James Storm will come through against one of them. So I think he'll be in the semis. Ospreay and Ray, I'm going with Ray and Bailey. Bailey and Ray. I don't know. I think it'll be someone from this tournament that wins it. I don't know. I don't know. I guess that's part of the fun that is so unpredictable. I mean, I'm sure there's people out there going, well, I've got it all figured out, or this, and this. Good luck.
I think even now, you'd have had the same amount of odds of picking who'd won it as if we'd announced all 64 competitors, or all the competitors. Yeah. The same amount of odds.
I think the key is that all 16 guys who are going to be in this final could win it, you know? They wouldn't be there if they couldn't, I don't think. So even like the underdogs, like Lucky Kid or Kenny Williams, who had like 2 chances to get there, because let's not forget, like Drew Galloway was supposed to be in this thing. And if he was still in this, I'd probably fancy him to win the thing if that was the draw,
Drew's,
you know?
I think if Drew was still here, he would...
He'd go along with it. He was the champion here for a long time. You know, he was incredible. Like, you'd fancy him to do very well at very least. But he's not, and maybe it's an opportunity for someone like Kenny to really go. I don't know. We couldn't have talked about this all day. If I was to pick one
Just one winner.
winner. Bailey. I just literally picked the first name I saw on the sheet there. I just threw a dart. I have no idea.
Well, it's going to be very exciting for the end of August to see how it all turns out. Of course, we've got the American qualifiers on Friday in Manchester, and then the rest of the world qualifiers in Newcastle on the Saturday. And Milton Keynes, Manchester, Newcastle going forward for the round of 16, quarters, semis, finals, etc. Feel free, as we've done for Ad Infinitum, to discuss and argue about who's going to get so far, who your winners are going to be for the Pro Wrestling World Cup, who's going to be taking it home. Feel free to argue about that in the comments. You can get your tickets, of course, prowrestlingworldcup.com. It's going to be a very exciting few weeks and months going forward, and I feel like I should probably change my pick now, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to wrap this up.
Let's try again next week.
Yeah. We'll try again next week. Thank you very much for watching. Thanks again to Sam and James for their expert analysis, and we'll see you soon.